there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 105 of Ask Bossk Bounty. This is, of course, the weekly series where you ask me questions in the comment section below, and every week I do my very best to answer them for you. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comment section below, and hopefully your question will be featured on the following week. Loads of great questions again to get through this week, so if you do happen to enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a like, big thumbs up on the video. That really helps the video and the channel, so thank you for doing that. And with all that being said, let's get straight on to the first question. Chris Curran says, question for next week. Do you think we will get a Vintage Collection Antok Merrick figure as a single release? Or do you think we'll have to get gouged on the secondary markets? So first of all, Chris, I do want to apologise because I know that on a recent live stream, you left me a super chat and I actually missed it for some reason. There was just so much going on in the chat that I missed it. I did leave a reply to one of your other comments on one of my videos. That's the only way I could find you to apologise. But now you've asked a question and I'm featuring it on this video, I can apologise to you directly. On to your question. So Antok Merrick, here he is. Now, unfortunately, I do think the only way that you're going to be able to get that figure is via the X-Wing, unfortunately, unless they bring him out in like some kind of 3-pack or something, maybe with one of the Rebel soldiers. That'd be pretty cool. And maybe he is Astromech. There you go, Hasbro, I'm doing your work for you. A really good 3-pack. You could have Antok Merrick, his Astromech droid, and then one of the Rebel soldiers, which you then could use in one of those amazing 4-packs where you have like a different version of the Rebel soldier for our Rogue One setups. That would be awesome, but that's the only way, Chris, that I could really see them re-releasing this figure. I don't think they really want to waste this figure. I think that we probably will see it again, but maybe not on that card back in the main line. Jason Juliana's World says, question for next week. So what do you think the chances are that we'll see a new sail barge in the Book of Boba Fett? I think it would be a great way to give that awesome vehicle some extra screen time and a nice callback to the original trilogy. Well, I think in that series we're going to see lots of callbacks to the original trilogy. If Dave Filoni is involved, we will definitely see that, which is awesome. You know, I'm not too sure if we'll see another sail barge, but you never know. I can potentially see some skiffs floating around in some kind of battle or something. That would be pretty awesome. But let's hope that there's some really cool stuff in that show and it's a mega success, because then if that happens, then we're more likely to get stuff in figure form and vehicle form from the show. Diego Sandoval says, great video, Big Bossk. Do you think we will ever get a Vintage Collection Jabba as a single release for people that did not have a chance to buy the barge? Also, how much are you willing to pay for a secondary market Razor Crest? Well, I'll answer the second part of the question first. I would pay $0 for one, because essentially I was lucky enough to order one when they were up for order, and I think they were up for order for about a month, so I'm hoping that everybody that wanted one was able to get one. I feel the people that are buying them on the secondary market for some reason for like £700, £800, £900 is just crazy to me. So yeah, I'm just happy that I've managed to get one, and I'm looking forward to when it arrives. As for the Vintage Collection Jabba, that is something that I wish they would do. The Toys R Us version from what 2010 is a great Jabba on that throne with all the cushions as accessories and things like that. Maybe they'll consider doing something like that for the anniversary of the Return of the Jedi in 2023. That would be something that I think everybody would want in a vintage style box. That'd be awesome. Median Comedian says, question for next week. Do you think they'll fix the issues from the Bad Batch Black Series figure with the tech goggles in the Vintage Collection release? Well, first of all, we don't know if we're going to be getting the Bad Batch in the Vintage Collection. I sincerely hope we will, but I think waiting that little bit longer can have its benefits. If we look at for example, the IG-11 figure, which is a really, really good figure in the Vintage Collection, in the Black Series, they're having to have a IG-88 repaint, which isn't accurate. So for us, waiting actually paid off. Same with the Vintage Collection Quill figure. That is far more accurate to the source material than the Black Series version. The Black Series versions, his clothes are not the right colour. So we could potentially see more improvements like that. As for the Bad Batch with the tech goggles, when it comes to the smaller figures, things like that unfortunately go out the window. Again, look at Quill. Unfortunately, his goggles aren't removable. So let's just hope and pray that we do get the Bad Batch figures, and that when we do, that they actually do them properly. Chris Schlegel says, great video as always. Question for next week. How long does it usually take to film an Ask Bossk Bounty episode? And what is the process like? How many takes for each question? And do you have notes with you for your main points? Some segments are quite in depth and you nail every one. Well, thank you so much for that. I don't tend to have anything planned in what I'm going to say. You might even be able to tell that, but essentially I pick the questions like a couple of hours before, and I like to pick questions that maybe are relevant to what's going on in the community at the time. So for example, we do have questions about the Rancor today, for example, and things like that. And then I just try and sort of think about what I'm going to say, but I don't have a script or anything for it. It's all sort of off the cuff. As for how long it takes to film, I would probably say it takes me about an hour and a half to film it, and then maybe another 2.5 hours, 3 hours to edit it and put overlays of images and all that kind of stuff. And then of course you've got the time that it takes to upload it to YouTube. So from my point of view, my Sundays, a good portion of my Sunday is taken up with doing this series, but I love it and you guys seem to like it, so it's not a problem. A Kirby Mock says, great weekly episode of Ask Boss Bounty. Question, what do you think of the recent HASLAB tiers for the Rancor? I think it's pretty underwhelming and I'll be very surprised if it actually gets the full support prior to the pre-order deadline. So I did want to talk about this again. I did do a whole video about the Rancor. When did that go live? Friday night, I think I put that live, just reacting to the live stream and just my thoughts about it really. I will repeat some of that now, but I also do have some extra bits to add. Essentially, because I'm not really a Black Series collector, my mind is really not on it, and it doesn't really sort of upset me as much as the Black Series community when I don't really get what I want out of it. What I would say is that I think with these HASLAB projects, the tiers that you get with them are extras. So I think what you should really do is just decide, first of all, if the actual product on its own is worth the money. Now, it's up to you whether you think, what is it, $350 is worth it for the Rancor, and then whatever else comes after that, those tiers are extras because there's no guarantee that you're going to hit those tiers. Now for me, if I was going to back that Rancor, I would want all of those things because I personally don't think the Rancor by itself is worth the $350, whereas with the Razor Crest, I probably would have paid the $350 for the Razor Crest without any of the extras. The extras that we got with the Razor Crest were welcome. 2 exclusive carded figures, which is awesome for me, being a carded collector as well as a loose collector. But in terms of the Rancor, I think it's pretty obvious what the community wanted, and they wanted these 2 figures here in 6-inch scale. They wanted an Oola and they wanted a Malakili, and when they got a Gamorrean Guard to be the first one, a pile of bones, then a Salacious Crumb on a card, and then a Luke Skywalker on a card, I don't think the community were too happy. And the Luke Skywalker one for me was the one that bemused me the most, because I don't actually think the Black Series version of the Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight needed updating particularly. I think that would have done absolutely fine for that Rancor release. You know, you need the bone and things like that. But essentially, as I said, these 2 things here, the Rancor Keeper, Malakili and Oola, are what the community thought that they were going to get with the Rancor. And let's face it, it makes sense to have those 2, doesn't it? I don't think it really makes sense to have Salacious Rum. What really has he got to do with the Rancor scene? Not a lot. So for me, as I said, you know, it doesn't really affect me too much. I know from the comment section of that previous video that I did, there's a lot of people that are saying, you know, that they're cancelling their order and they're not happy and things like that. But then there's some other people as well on the other side of the fence that think, you know, the Rancor, it's the only chance you're ever going to get to having this Rancor, and the Rancor itself looks great. I think just some people have been put off with the extras that they get. And as I said at the very beginning, I don't think the tiers necessarily contribute to the value. I think they're extra because there's no guarantee that you're going to hit those anyway. So when you're deciding whether you're going to buy this thing, you need to decide whether the actual item itself is worth the money. Bill Pork says, love your content, Tim. Question, since Christmas is on the way, what does Bossk ask for Christmas? I know I usually end up buying my own Star Wars gifts and then let the wife wrap them up, so I'll be surprised on Christmas morning. A little sad, but oh well. I'm with you there, mate. At the end of the day, you know, when it comes to figures, if I was going to be getting like an older figure, then, you know, I'd really want to be picking that for like condition purposes and things like that. And when it comes to all the new figures, I've kind of pre-ordered them anyway, so it's pretty difficult around Christmas time for me. This year I'm actually asking for some AirPods, just because essentially I do live streams and things like that, and I'm fed up of having the cable hanging down. So I have a MacBook, so they'll go very nicely with those. So that's going to be like my main present this year. Random Canadian guy says, question, do you think the Vintage Collection Grievous will be reissued at some point? Here he is, and yes. In a short answer, he will get re-released. There is no two ways about it. It's a main character from Revenge of the Sith, and might not be next year, but if they're going to carry on doing these reissues to get new fans in, then that is one that will be reissued. I can almost guarantee it. The Collector says, question for next week. With next year being the Attack of the Clones anniversary and Kenobi coming, if they were to release another playset next year, do you think we'd get a Geonosis Arena or Mustafar Vader Castle? Well, it's funny you should say that about the Mustafar Vader Castle, because we did get to see a sneak preview, didn't we, and some concept art for the new Kenobi series. And Darth Vader's castle was kind of in that, and they've done it in Lego, so maybe that could be something for the future. Again, I think it will depend on whether the series is a booming success, because if it is, then you can expect lots of stuff from it, and if it's not, then you won't get so much. But in terms of next year, I really don't think you'll get the Darth Vader's castle. I think they'll wait to see how successful the show is. John Baldry, how you doing, my friend, says, hey Tim, has anyone got their Razor Crests yet? Well, I think if you follow Yakface on Instagram and Twitter and things like that, he has suggested that some of the Razor Crests have been arriving to distribution centres in the US. I personally don't think any of those will be distributed until the whole stock's there, because I don't think they're going to want some people getting it and then the other people waiting another couple of months. I don't think they'll want that to happen. I think they'll all be sent out at the same time. I could be wrong, but that's just my gut feeling on it. Certainly within the US anyway. But has anyone actually got one in hand right now? I don't think they have. And Chris Rooks says, hi Bossk, here's my question. If you could pick the next Vintage Collection HasLab project, a playset like the Death Star or the Mos Eisley Cantina, a vehicle like the AT-AT or Moff Gideon's TIE Fighter, or would it be a large figure set like all the remaining characters in Jabba's palace, or the missing figures from Rogue One? So yeah, I mean, if I was to pick the next HasLab, I think there's no secret that I would love a Sandcrawler. I think that is just got HasLab written all over it. It's huge. They could make it really awesome. They could make it fit two purposes. It could be the one from A New Hope, and also they could have all the bits and bobs on top of it to make it like the Mandalorian version as well. But also, as you say about figure packs, I'm all for them doing that. There's so many characters out there which I don't think they feel will sell at retail, for example. They're too deep cut, and as collectors we still want those. It's a bit like the Black Series wanting this guy. I don't think they'd ever do that in the Black Series mainline, this guy, because I just don't think he would sell. You know, the majority of the collectors would want him, but after that I think he would peg warm. And I think that's the case with many of these sort of deep cut aliens and stuff like that from the original trilogy. And the only way that I feel that we could get those is maybe doing like a 12 figure pack in a HasLab form. How we would whittle it down to which figures and characters we want, that might be a little bit more tricky. But hopefully Hasbro are listening, and I think the fans would love the opportunity to be able to do that. So yeah, I would love that. Figure pack all day long. Alright then guys, thank you so much for watching. That's the final question of this week. As I said before, if you do have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comment section below. We do have the Bring Home the Bounty on Tuesday. Let's keep our fingers crossed for more Vintage Collection reveals. Please, 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 Hasbro or Lucasfilm, whoever decides, give us some Vintage Collection. Thank you so much for watching, and also thank you to my Patreon and members. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.